Who want to start? Let me decide who want to start. Lenin, are you okay?
Can you hear me? Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'll start. I'm gonna share my screen
Okay, go ahead.
and I'll just go. I'm gonna run through some slides. Can you see it? Sorry.
I just introduced the session just a moment. Lenin, few words. This is a marketplace, so
Yes.
we're here Lenin and Fabio that will show us some experiences on positive energy, so how to implement the energy transition by real. So the floor is yours, Lenin.
Okay, thank you. So, yes, this is the energy transition. I'm just gonna run through some slides real quick because we have little time. So in 2019, almost 37 gigatons of uh, carbon dioxide were emitted into the atmosphere, and the power sector accounted for about 20% of these emissions. Now, in terms of power generation, almost 3/3, that's 75% of the electricity generation is generated by fossil fuels and almost 25% by renewables. So as we can see, there's a big disparity right there. So we have a lot of ground to cover, a lot of ground to make and gain. As you know, sustainable energy is based on the three main pillars of sustainability, which is social, environmental, and economic. And renewables, we have different types of renewables. You know them: why, wind, bioenergy, geothermal, hydro, and solar. And I want to share with you some numbers from IRENA, from the International Renewable Energy Agency. The market penetration in 2019 of installed capacity was of about 2,536 gigawatts, and the electricity generation in 2018 was of about 6,586,124 gigawatt hours. So what's the main issue? Why do we always talk about carbon dioxide? Well, it's not the only greenhouse gas, but it's the main one. As you know, we've been burning a lot of fossil fuel. And the problem with carbon dioxide is that the first 50%, it takes about decades or 30 years sometimes to be reabsorbed into the carbon cycle. And then we have centuries for the next 30%, which is, a couple hundred years. That's a lot in a human lifetime. And then the main problem is the remaining 20%, which lasts for about thousands of years. So that's millennia. So that's what we are dealing with right now, right? So building a sustainable and more resilient future, these are the small actions that I think that count. Every single individual provides different actions that at the end add up to the fight against climate change. These are my actions. This is how I pretty much started. And my bachelor's dissertation was a green school project. It was the first one in the state of Sinaloa. We installed it in Mazatlan, and it was only a less than almost 10 kilowatt solar PV system with some like a greenhouse concept also installed in the school. Some other environmental concepts were implemented in this little small school. So these are pioneering concepts. Probably there are a lot of green schools around the world, but here in this state in Mexico, it's a pioneering concept. It can be implemented in many more schools. And so we measure the impacts that this system would have in 25 years. And as you can see, it's almost 540 kilowatt hours of 40,000, sorry, kilowatt hours of clean energy. It would be mitigating about 314 tons of CO2, which is a great contribution just for one small school. Imagine if we could implement it in 1,000 schools. And the savings were about 2 million pesos in our currency, our Mexican currency. And of course, the most important thing, and since this is the social climate social forum, for me, it's always the social impact. Even though we cannot really measure it, it always has a huge impact because children will be developing in environments that foster and contribute to a deeper sense of social and environmental responsibility. And at the end, that's what we want, because they are the ones, the younger generations are the ones that are going to be implementing a lot of the ideas that we develop in these incoming years, these 2-3 decades, sorry, these 2 or 3 decades. So that's very important for them to have that type of environment. So these are some of the projects. I have a small startup. I just basically started some months ago, and so we've been involved in residential projects, also commercial, and hopefully starting 2021 we'll be involved in a big industrial agricultural project. So fingers crossed for that, because we would like to implement some new concepts. These are from being developed in Fraunhofer. We would love to be able to implement that, which are agro-PV, agrovoltaics, and also we have in mind, and we are aiming for some architectonic designs starting next year. Actually, we're gonna see if we can implement one of them this December before the year finishes. So these are some of the contributions that I've been trying to do with my small startup, with my team. And I think that it's up to all of us. We all can share knowledge. We all can implement small projects, bigger projects. I'm constantly trying to be more involved in energy and climate related issues. And this is basically my contribution. This is my contact information. If you want to engage, please feel free to do it. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Lenin. Thank you very much for your beautiful presentation. Now the floor to Fabio.
Here I am, thanks to you. Just a moment that I activate the screen sharing. Just a moment. Okay. Share. Tell me if you can see the screen.
Yeah.
Confirm to this. Okay. I'm Fabio Grohovaz from JUA UK. What is JUA? A brief introduction. We are one company that is committed to bringing electricity services to unhappy customers connected to the grid, and especially for off-grid communities. We offer and we size and we give help to installation for prepackaged solar hybrid energy solutions. We are deeply concentrated in Africa, in Asia. We have one headquarter in UK, one development laboratory in Italy, and we have some people that are on the ground in Nairobi, in Riyadh, and now in the Canary Islands. Our project already done, as not so big, but you have to think that we have a small application, so 170. Now we are close to 200 project, and 1.5 megawatt of PV and 3.4 megawatt hour of battery. Some examples, here we have one installation NB radio transmitter device in Libya, the beginning of this year, just in the middle of one period in which there was possible to install the system. This is our system. As you can see, is a prepackaged solution with battery pack. We have all the devices for the safety, for the safety of the system. Another in Equatorial Guinea is an international airport that was very nice to develop, because this is a device for the airplane to communicate the state of the air for the airplane. Last project done is in Oman, some traffic light with the Royal Oman Police that we are installed the first two, and now we are sending other two, and we are going to make a lot of this in the future. Traffic lights, so speed trapper and traffic light. But a lot of project also in Italy, for farm in Italy, for some companies that work with frozen fruits that need energy also when there is no grid. Especially this farm is in off-grid situation, because in this town there is no grid now. Well, here we have another system in Greece for residential luxury villa that is in one island that is not electrified. And this is our, how can I say, our beautiful project. Another in Switzerland, there is an hotel that is floating. There is 100% of grid with some photovoltaics and some wind energy turbines. But the most beautiful projects are when you can act in some special communities where like this, for example, there is a Tunisia microgrid sample where we have one central system and 4 satellite systems for agriculture application. This is the showing of the installation of the system. And another very, very important project that we have followed is with the Microgrid Academy, when we have the possibility to analyze some hospitals, some health centers, where they have a lot of problems with the grid that is not stable, and they have not the possibility to run all the devices for the medical purpose. Especially in this case, we have analyzed the electricity bill. We have divided the total kilowatt hour per month and per year that we have understood from the electricity bills, and we have made one site. And this is the project. There is the monthly bill, monthly energy consumption, and we have calculated the PV capacity and the battery sizing. This is especially the project is JUA farm in Kiambu in Kenya, and we have participated with 7 or 8 Kenyan guys together with them to analyze the load, the consumption, and also it was a very nice experience because we have cooperated with them, and we have, how can I say, teach to them how to make a simple sizing, how to calculate the PV, how to calculate the battery pack sizing, and some other things. We have together make one sizing. There is one cabinet. Obviously, we have suggested that one product that we can produce, one cabinet for 5 kilowatt PV, 4 kilowatt inverter, and 3.5 kilowatt hour. This hospital was this health center was very small. And so in this case, we have the possibility to make a sizing that is not so big. After we make a second stage of sizing procedure, so our sales manager dedicated to Kenya has visited the site in order to double check the loads. And we have discovered that this health center has a big problem of electricity supply, because the loads are very big and bigger than the electricity bill, because the national grid is not present. And so there is a big difference between the electricity bill and the real consumption. So we have understood that we have to double size the PV capacity and battery pack. This is more commitment for our company, because we have decided to supply the system as a donation in order to be able to give and to supply and to give our help structure. The PV is to 60 kilowatt, and the battery size we have more than double the battery in order to have the possibility to run during the day hours and to have some loads as light and emergency loads also in the night. So this is the possibility that we have. And we are also cooperated with KUAM for 2 health centers in South Sudan. We have made the sizing. Now we are waiting if it's possible to send these devices to Sudan because of the complicated situation that they have now. And also we are cooperating with Direct Aid, that is another association that works also in Kenya, but in other countries, for a lot of health centers, a lot of schools, a lot of reality in which we can give an help, especially to avoid that the diesel generator has not to run anymore, because or to run as less as possible because of the pollution and of the cost and the transportation cost of this device. I have roughly concluded. Our product are 3 lines. One especially is very nice to see because it's one a petrol barrel where we have removed the petrol, and we have inserted one inverter, one charge controller, one battery pack, and the safety device. So all the system is in one barrel. This is for a small application. but also we can supply big application by putting a lot of barrels together and create a real microgrid. After, we have the cabinet solution, that is the solution that you have seen in the previous samples, and we can also say cell system in a container size. So basically, I am finished, and I want to thank you for the attention. These are some slides with the images of our product, of the scaling capacity, and the possibility that we have. So I'm available for some questions if you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to both of the speakers. We had also another case study, but unfortunately he cannot join because of some overlap, but I think that...
Good day everyone, I'm Adedeji Adetoi. I'm so sorry I'll be joining you live due to the conflicting schedule which I had today. I'm really sorry about that. But today we'll be talking about energy markets. In case you probably don't understand how go by it or have issues with it, you can just reach me after for clarification and probably for more expository analysis. Thank you. Without no further ado, today, as I said earlier, we'll be talking about energy markets. It's a very broad topic in which, as we all know, which is very, very broad. But I will just try and break it down into different modules. First, we start from the key elements of energy systems, which are mainly the sources and demand functions. The sources of electricity, as we all know, it's either renewables or fossil from what we could have, like the modern electricity we have nowadays. Then the demand functions. The demand functions simply talks about the load demand and the peak demand also. As we know, electricity is grid bound, which means it has to always move from one physical grid or a means of transfer from one physical grid to another, from generation to consumption. Talking about generation, we have a function which is, we have 4 functions actually, in which has to do with generation, which we have one, we have planning. Then second one, we have dispatch. The third one, we have system operation. While the last one, we have pricing. The pricing aspect of it leads to the energy market aspect of it. To streamline our main topic today, we'll go straight into pricing. The pricing leads to, the pricing aspect of it leads to the energy market, in which we have no global market. Each country, each producer has its own aspect of the market aspect. It's not a global format in which we have electricity. We could have energy one, but we don't have electricity market function on a global level. It's being placed on a stable price that suits the trading. That is the amount of generation cost with that of operation system, which is also the transmission cost, leads to the pricing in which you cap it with. Like here in Nigeria, energy markets consist of generation, transmission, distribution, and finally back to the consumer. But the funny aspect about it is the mode of payment goes from consumer to distribution to transmission and back to generation. That's how the format is here in Nigeria. I don't know about other places, but I think most of other places also it goes the same way. Then for regulation purposes, government tends to bring about onboarding of the power of the transmission away from the generation. The main onboarding means, at least, like to make it 2 separate entities that runs the main affairs. Reason being that a single company generating or selling energy while also operating the transmission network could have incentive to obstruct the component of accessing the infrastructure that could prevent fair competition of the market, just to remove dominant operation. This means, like, unbundling means like to separate the transmission aspect of it from the distribution and also from generation. This means like if I own a company now and I generate my energy, I generate the whole pathway in which is being delivered to the final consumer. That means I decide the amount in which I want, which makes it a more monopolistic affair and brings about no or little competition. Furthermore, there are options in which brings about the unbundling. One, we have the ownership unbundling. Then second one, we have the independent system operation. Then the third, we have the independent transmission system. The first one, let's go by the first one, ownership onboarding. The ownership onboarding, this means like a generation and a supplying companies. A supplying companies is just like distribution companies here in Nigeria. That's what we call it. It's a distribution country which brings the energy to the final consumer. Just like a retainer company. Yeah. These two companies cannot hold a major share or interfere with the aspect of the transmission or the operation aspect of it. The reason being that for them not to have a solemn control of the energy market. That is one. And secondly, going to be the independent system operator. Independent system operator, this means like a supplier may still formally own the transmission or the operation aspect of it, but independently farm it out to another firm to see to the aspect of it, which also is similar to the last aspect of it, which is the independent transmission system. They both all have like they might own the aspect of it, but they farm the okay, let me not say the aspect of it. They might say they might own majorly the transmission, but farm out the distribution aspect of it, or they might own the generation aspect of it, but another entity, a subsidiary might be under them, tends to take care about the transmission aspects of the energy. Then let's go back. Let us progress. Let's talk about the wholesale market. Yeah, it's mainly called wholesale market model. This simply means that the competing generator can trade the electricity they produce. This system allows to trade for both short time and a long time consumer. It's just the aspect of the operation aspect of it, the transmission aspect of it. Yeah, that's what the wholesale aspect of it tends to be. This solely gets the energy from generation, then it tends to bring it down to the final consumer. That's the wholesale aspect of it. Then the retailer competition model. This means that the cost benefits for consumer in that way in which is effective and lower the profits and even offers a tariff below cost. I know this all English might probably be convincing, but let me just give an example aspect of it. For example, in a well-developed energy market, a cheap offer are made available at a certain period or to a certain region at a specific time and period. That's when you bring about the peak demand time and in which maybe certain time of the period of day, let's say in the morning and probably late in the evening when people are out, there's peak demand and they make it like at a peak cost. Where during the day or probably in the middle of the night where people are sleeping, where there's less demand for energy, the price tends to be at a subsidized format or a lower rate. Moreover, I think we should have a higher touch or probably a light touch on single buyer model. Yeah, I think it's really necessary to talk about single buyer model. This has to do with when integrated monopolies can buy electricity from IPPs. IPPs simply means independent power producers, and still sell it to the end user to cover consumer demand. This simply means like giving room to independent power producers, in which buyers tends to buy from them and sell to the final consumer. Note, introduction of IPPS brings about more competition, and also, most especially in this new era of renewables. That is, I might generate my electricity through solar and sell, while others might generate through wind, others probably through hydro, through geothermal, or any forms of sources, while others even might generate from fossil fuel. But it tends to be like sell to the final consumer, which brings about effective competition and effective pricing in an energy market. To me personally, for effective competition in an energy market, introduction of IPPS tends to bring more competition and effective one when it comes to price listing. Finally, let's talk about future characteristics of energy model, which are just mainly EOM and CM. The EOM is energy only market, while the CM is capital. I guess with this I will just tend to round up because I already passed 10 minutes of the video time which I'm giving. But if you have further questions or more clarification, I hope soon I will probably be available, which we can make a proper let's say section or a proper event and talk more about energy markets. Thank you, and thank you for having me there once again. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
But I think that the contribution that we had has been very valuable. So now the floor is for question. Just open the microphone and ask for questions. I will start.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
I have a very simple question. First, thank you for your very interesting presentation. My question is, this low-scale production technique for energy production could be widely used practically almost everywhere outside the big cities. Could be normality in the production of the energy in villages, small countries, houses that are distance from cities and so on. Also in Europe.
Thank you, Giancarlo. Thank you. Wants to respond?
Okay, I can answer. Basically, for what is concerning to JUA, we have two lines of products that can work where the grid is present, and other products that can work when the grid is totally absent of very not stable. So basically, the solution are both for both environment. The only point is to know what we have to give power, and so we can find the correct solution. So we have products that follow the specification of the regulation for the grid connection of Europe, Italy, Spain, France, Germany, all the countries that you want, also Australia, also United States. So there is no problem at all. But where we are not, when we have not the grid, we have to obviously to switch to some devices that have to have more strong to resist to the peak of the load and to the moment in which a lot of devices are switched on simultaneously. Tell me if I have understood to your question. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. And about the storage capacity, I am not a technician, I'm not an engineer, but I know that the main problem is the storage. And when the houses, the buildings are alone, the storage is very, very important. how is the now with the technique of storage? This.
So the battery pack have had a fast development in last few years. We can say that 1 year in the photovoltaic field is like 10 years in the other fields. So the battery pack has a very development. Also, of course, in the price, in the technology, in the reliability. When you are in total in off-grid, you have to select one lithium or lead battery pack that has to be very strong, very resistance in the peak handling, and so you need very high quality products. So basically, for the sizing, we have two possibilities of choices. If we have the possibility to size and to install one big battery pack, obviously is always the best choice. Obviously, if you have not the possibility, because there are not the economic possibilities for the end customer to install a big batteries, you have to choose one solution that can work very well. So you downsize the battery, but you put one battery that is more strong for the peak, and the system is able to work on all the day when the photovoltaic is producing. The first hour in the evening can supply some load. After, when the battery reach one threshold that you can fix, and we can program in the software, the system will switch off all the load or only the most critical, if we have the possibility to divide the load, and you stay with no energy until the morning again, and this can give to your customer the possibility to have the supply for the 90% of the needings without using a big battery pack. So these two solutions, big battery pack or downsizing with this kind of procedure.
Okay, thank you. Some people say that the lithium batteries are dangerous, can be dangerous, and in the future this technique should be changed with another. Do you agree with this judgment? The lithium batteries can really be in some cases dangerous, so explode and so on?
In some cases, yes. Obviously, we have to divide some battery technology and divide to the others. For example, the lithium, manganese and cobalt batteries are more dangerous in possibility. Okay, and this is a technology that most of the time in the last few years is less used. And if you use, in comparison, the lithium iron phosphate batteries, and also if you select some supplier that have the proven of the fire test technology or the fire test positive, so you can proceed with the less problem. Also because normally we choose this kind of choice. We try to use best battery quality in order to be sure that we don't have problem anymore. If we are in off-grid, especially. If you are in on-grid, there are not so big problems because the BMS can communicate with the inverter, and all the time that there is one problem, the inverter stops immediately to charge, discharge, and use the battery. And so the battery can be automatic deactivated by the internal relay protection. And so in this case, you don't have so much problem if you are, for example, in Europe. But if you are in Africa, if you are in the desert, if you are in a remote location, you have to use very strong materials with a lot of certification proven that the technology is safe and is hard.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the speaker. One last question, if there's someone that want to add. In the meanwhile, I will greet Mario Agostinelli, that will be the keynote for the next speaker, for the next session. So welcome, Mario. Ciao, Mario. So last question for Lenin and Fabio, if there are. Even though I have one. So I'll make one to Lenin. So first of all, thank you very much for sharing your experience. And in my opinion, it represents properly how is important to have also courage in implementing the transition. And you demonstrated also with your experience to start a startup. And I don't know how it is in your country and how it works, but which challenges do you face for, did you face for opening this kind of business and also turning into a solar market?
I guess it comes with all kinds of challenges. From the, of course, you need a bit of capital. That's the first one. But I mean, if you you can get it from many sources. But that's like a kind of like a small challenge. But then it comes the political challenges. Where I'm from, we don't have that much of solar PV deployment, so it's kind of like a not a new technology, but it's just it hasn't been that much implemented. So it comes with some political aspects to it. Also the grid. I mean, we have been progressing in this area in the last 2 years, almost exponentially, but we have a monopoly in terms of electricity here in Mexico. So it's a grid that has to update a lot, and it's a grid that has to update also in terms of standards and in terms of paperwork as well, you know, bureaucracy. So that's a huge challenge that we face. And also we face the social challenges, because it's something that it's not when you have something new, there's always some resistance to it, and this is kind of new here. So that's a huge challenge to, you know, tell people and educate them and tell them how solar PV is no longer that super expensive technology or super expensive generation of electricity, that nowadays it's something that makes sense in economic terms. So those are the main challenges, I would say, that people and you know, like the playground. It's a challenge for new companies, I would say, because this is something that is going to start to gain ground. However, when it's gaining ground, it's a challenge in all senses. So that's what I could say. And thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much to the rest of the people here participating.
It's been a real pleasure. Thanks to you, Lenin. So now let's close this energy session. I will share again the document, the track document, in case you want to also make some inputs relate properly to energy transition. We are like sharing this document that we also talk about in the plenary on each track. And now we are starting the new track. And so I will stop the talk now, greet the people that are following Facebook. So let's stop live for 1 moment. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fabio, for being here, and thank you all the participants to being here, and thank you also because Fabio has joined at very, very last moment, and he has been really prompt to join. Thank you very much for.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Okay.
Okay.